And I think it's one of the things we all need to set aside in our mindset that, look, regardless of these things, we just have to come together and just move ahead. I mean, I'm married to someone from the Southwest. I went to marry from Osun State, and it's just a reflection of, is the way I see the country. I'm Igbo, grew up in Lagos. I mean, majority of my childhood was immersed out of Lagos. I wouldn't claim I had all of that from my father's village, which obviously is my heritage or my roots. But, Lagos is where I know the most. I feel very at home here, in as much as I can still go back, to my, heritage or roots back in Abia State. But we are those guardians today.
Sure.
And we just have to realize that we have to put that positive mindset and positive front to ensure that the country continues to remain united.
On leadership in Africa. Leadership in Africa, I think that we've always been, people talk about our quality of leadership as being subpar to the global quality. And that sometimes you find very quality leaders in the private sector, but not in the public sector. And across Africa, you have a very rich resource continent that has been largely not harnessed to economic prosperity and gain. The indices are crossed from maternal mortality to unemployment, yet it's a prime population, right? And I think in about 2050, Africans will hit 2.5 billion, which is 25% of the world population then. And we're talking about a median age of somewhere between moving around 18.5 to 19.6. So everything is good and bad. It's such an interesting twist. But looking at we're still dealing with portions of war on the continent, tensions and all of those things. In your own perspective of Africa, if you're allowed to paint a picture of what you think the Africa of your dream is, and how you in your own mind think young Africans, who are mostly our listeners, can tap into their collective disaffection and channel it into a mission. But maybe the question is about your dreams for Africa amidst all the challenges.
I think we're in a very amazing era right now, and this is an era where I think Africa will truly reach its self-realization. I mean, your indices are spot on the continent. Today, we're about 1.2 billion. Again, majority of that, 70% of that is the youthful population. A lot of energy, resilience, vibrancy that is immersed in that youthful population. You're correct. Leadership broadly has been seen in a subpar, has been assessed in a subpar manner. However, you have a continent that is blessed with tremendous resources, natural, human capital, resource, excellent weather, at least compared to what you're getting in the Western dynamic. However, I do think that because we're getting into this self-consciousness era where we are now realizing that, look, there's pride in being the African that you are, whether it's by virtue of your culture, your tradition, your heritage. Because of that consciousness, it's giving us that confidence to now understand that we are part of what makes the entire makeup of the entire world, in our rightful manner. No one really deserves to shortchange us or make us feel lesser than we are. And I think that leads me to how I then think I see the Africa of my dream. Yeah. Because we have this dynamic population, which has become very self-aware and self-conscious, I think by virtue of that, everything becomes all-encompassing. Culture, tradition, beliefs, the skin color, the environment, the climate, just by being part of that ecosystem makes us become attractive in such a way that I feel that Africa in itself, the real value it can sell to the world is being able to export Africa as some kind of a commodity. So, be it that culture, let the entire world be able to feel like, wow, we can get a bit of Africa through the Afro beats.
Yeah.
Be it through the food that we eat. People should be out there globally, be it in the Western world, Europe, and say, oh, you know what? We want to have a taste of that akara or that jollof rice. Be it the cultural festivals that we have. People should feel like, you know what? I want to attend the Eyo Festival, or I want to attend the Calabar Carnival. Be it by the way we dress. People should feel like I want to wear that kente or whatever it is. People should hear about our weddings, how we celebrate when we want to get married.
Because, this thing, I love the way you entered about exporting Africa. Americans did that.
Yes.
Americans took stories, created this American dream, commoditized and exported it. And we were all colonized. I mean, we knew more about Tupac than most of us knew back in the day about Oris Wiliki.
Correct.
Or we knew more around the BIG than we knew even about Sonny Ade. So in a sense, that was the power of storytelling. But for you to export Africa as capital, so let's talk a bit about capital.
Yes.
The creative sector has been one of the least funded. And I really want to know why you chose that as your area of focus to raise capital for the creative sector. I mean, most people with your kind of profile and background, they want to do infrastructure. They want to do oil and gas. But you're choosing the most vulnerable, the most complicated sector of the economy. I want to know why. And what are the challenges you think why entrepreneurs are not able to access this capital even when they are there?
So thank you. I mean, so in and out, after I ran through a course of close to 14 years in public sector, so I did a bit of Jonathan's administration, serving as an SA to his Minister of Finance and Trade and Investment. Also had my stint under President Buhari's administration, serving as an SA, Special Assistant on industrialization in the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and also had exposure into the Ministry of Solid Minerals as well. And after that, I had the opportunity of serving as, which is a portfolio I hold as well today, Senior Country Director to the U.S. Nigeria Council for Food Security, Trade and Investment. And the idea is to use that council as a platform to deepen U.S. and Nigeria business and commercial ties. And when I started to reflect back on my experience, particularly in public service, I mean, I went very hard on myself to critique and say, look, I'm not sure we have reached our true destination and potential in terms of, the potential of our economic growth and development. And I started to feel like, what could some of us start to do differently that could complement where we're currently at? And in my thinking process, I felt that, look, Africa and its governance will continue to have its challenges. And typically, every government would really be thinking, how can we solve for our people, give them the basic welfare infrastructure, schools, education, healthcare, and basic infrastructure. And then also think about how can you empower your citizens from a wealth creation or an economic standpoint. But then I started to also have a deeper appreciation that, thinking about it, a lot of us Africans are innately talented and have come from a place of deeply rooted culture, cultural beliefs, tradition, community, the things that makes us very African.